She never even screamed when they shoved her. Asterisk, that was what would haunt them later, not the bruises, not the crack of her body landing somewhere far below, but the way she looked over her shoulder, her eyes clear and unafraid, as though she already knew how this would end. Asterisk, Elena Navarro had always been the strange girl in class. She liked old myths instead of TikTok, brought tattered books to school instead of glossy magazines, and wore the same faded blue hoodie until the elbows frayed. She didn't flinch when the other kids whispered or when they left cruel notes. In her locker, she just went on with her quiet life, as though she'd learned long ago not to expect kindness. Asterisk, but it was never enough for them to ignore her. The bullies, Bryce, Callie, and the rest couldn't stand how she held her head high anyway. It was as if she was mocking them with her calm. That day, in the crumbling old park behind their middle school, they decided to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. Asterisk, it had been Bryce's idea to corner her near the gaping hole in the earth, a sinkhole that city workers had surrounded with half-toppled caution tape. The hole had opened after weeks of rain, a jagged mouth swallowing the ground beneath an old storage shed. The police had warned everyone to stay away, but that just made it the perfect place to do something no adult would see. Asterisk, she thinks she's better than everyone, Callie said, shoving Elena's shoulder. Let's see how special she is when she's covered in mud. Asterisk, Elena turned slowly, her braid sliding over her shoulder. Her face was pale but composed. You don't have to do this, she said softly, her voice carrying in the damp air. Asterisk, Bryce stepped closer, smirking. Sure we do. And with that, he put both hands on her chest and shoved. Her feet skidded. Her eyes met his for a single heartbeat, so calm, so steady, and then she was gone. Asterisk, the sound of her body striking the slope below was muffled, almost gentle. Bryce's stomach lurched. He hadn't expected it to feel so real. Callie clapped, a hand over her mouth, her eyes huge. Asterisk, did you kill her? Asterisk, Bryce swallowed. No, she's fine. He peered over the edge. All he could see was darkness and the glimmer of water far below. She'd climb out. Asterisk, but Elena did not climb out. She did not scream. She did not beg for help. She simply disappeared. Asterisk, the police came later. After Bryce and Callie made a show of pretending they'd been looking for her and just found her backpack, they asked questions, searched the hole, even sent a camera down, but the walls twisted, pitting on themselves in confusing angles. All they found was an old brick tunnel partly collapsed by the sinkhole, descending deeper than any of them could see. The official story was that Elena had run away. Her mother hung missing posters all over town, her tear-streaked face pleading for someone to come forward. But nobody did. Weeks passed, then the nightmares began. Asterisk, it started with Callie. She woke one night to the sound of something scratching at her window. When she pulled aside the curtain, no one was there, but her breath fogged the glass into a single word: remember. She started seeing things in mirrors, flashes of a girl with mud-caked hair and bright, accusing eyes. At school, she kept expecting a cold hand to clamp over her shoulder. Asterisk, Bryce was next. He laughed it off until the night he heard footsteps in the hallway outside his bedroom. His parents were asleep. He locked the door, but the knob turned anyway, slow and deliberate. He cowered beneath his blanket, waiting for it to be over. Asterisk, and still nobody confessed. Asterisk, because no matter how much they feared Elena's ghost or whatever she had become, fear of getting caught was worse. Then came the day she returned. It was a Friday afternoon, nearly 2 months since she vanished. The class was packing up to leave when the door creaked open. Every head turned. Elena stepped into the classroom. Her blue hoodie was gone, replaced by something that looked woven from shadows and pale silk. Her braid hung over her shoulder, slick with something dark and glistening. Her skin was smeared with gray dust and bruises, but her eyes, they were brighter than any of them remembered, like cold stars. Asterisk, the teacher gasped, stumbling back. My God, where have you been? Asterisk, Elena didn't look at her. She didn't look at any of them except Bryce. Asterisk, she walked to his desk and laid something on it, a piece of broken brick, the sharp edge glistening. Asterisk, Bryce stared, his mouth opening and closing. Asterisk, did you think it was over? She asked quietly. Nobody spoke. Elena lifted her head and looked around the room. You left me down there. You thought I was too weak to survive. Her voice grew stronger with each word. But the dark is not empty. It's full of old things, older than your cruelty, older than this town. They taught me how to come back. They showed me the truth about what you are. Asterisk, Bryce felt sweat drip down his back. We didn't mean. Asterisk, yes, you did, Elena interrupted, her gaze so steady it felt like it pinned him in place. And now you'll understand that some things don't stay buried. The lights flickered. Callie whimpered and tried to leave her seat, but her legs locked up. All around them, shadows pooled across the floor, winding between desks, coiling up chair legs. Elena didn't move. She just watched as the darkness gathered. Asterisk, Bryce's voice cracked. What are you? Asterisk, Elena tilted her head. Just a girl you tried to break. Asterisk, the shadows surged, swallowing the classroom in darkness so complete it felt like drowning. Bryce heard whispers, thousands of them, sliding under his skin. He thought he felt hands gripping his shoulders, dragging him down. Asterisk when the lights came back, Alina was gone. Asterisk they all tried to pretend it hadn't happened. The teacher called the police again, and once more, no trace of her could be found. But the truth settled in all their hearts. She was alive, and she was watching them. Asterisk the nightmares grew worse. Bryce started seeing her face behind his eyelids. Callie refused to leave her house. The others who had stood by and done nothing suffered too. Insomnia visions, the sense that any moment, a hand would reach from the shadows and pull them into the dark. Asterisk and Elena did return again and again. She never hurt them directly, but she haunted them with reminders. A scrap of blue hoodie nailed to Bryce's locker, a smear of mud on Callie's bedroom floor, a note slipped under the principal's door with the words, Asterisk the truth will come. That and it did. When Callie finally confessed everything, her voice shaking, it felt like a dam breaking. The other witnesses came forward, one by one, unable to bear the guilt any longer. The school was flooded with reporters. The police reopened the investigation. Asterisk Bryce was arrested, along with 2 others. Their parents cried on the courthouse steps, begging forgiveness no one was willing to give. Asterisk Elena's mother stood in the back row the day they were sentenced, her hands clenched white. She never found out exactly where her daughter had gone, only that she'd survived long enough to make them pay. Asterisk in the months that followed, the town tried to move on, but something had shifted, like a scar left behind after a deep wound. Nobody spoke of the sinkhole anymore. City workers finally filled it with concrete, but the nightmares never stopped. Asterisk sometimes. Late at night, Bryce thought he heard Elena's voice, as clear as the day she returned. You don't get to forget. He didn't. Asterisk years passed. Bryce served his time and was released. Older and thinner, his confidence scraped away by sleepless nights. He tried to start over in another city, where nobody knew his face, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing in that hole, unbroken, her gaze promising that the past never truly stayed buried. Asterisk. He tried therapy, medication. He tried to convince himself it was all in his mind. But the truth was something he could never shake. Alina had survived not just the fall, but something older and stranger. Something that had turned her into a reckoning. Asterisk one winter evening, he found himself standing outside the old park. The wind, slicing through his coat, the fence around the filled-in sinkhole was rusting now. The caution signs bleached by sun and rain. He didn't know why he'd come. Maybe some part of him hoped to see her again, if only to beg forgiveness. Asterisk the trees were bare, their branches rattling like bones. He felt the first drops of rain, cold against his skin. Asterisk and then, from the shadows, he heard her voice. Asterisk some debts can never be repaid. Asterisk he turned, but she wasn't there. Only darkness and the memory of everything he'd done. Asterisk as he walked away. He knew he would never be free, not of the guilt, not of her, not of the truth. Asterisk Elena Navarro had been the girl everyone underestimated. The girl who didn't scream when she fell. The girl who rose again, stronger than any of them could fathom. Asterisk and in the end, she left them with the one punishment no court could impose. Asterisk. They would carry her memory for the rest of their lives. Asterisk because some holes never close, and some victims never stay buried. Asterisk and some girls, especially the quiet ones, are far stronger than anyone dares to imagine. Asterisk.